banks are being permitted to allow a deferment of 3 months on payment of interest in respect of all such facilities outstanding as on 1st March 2020. The accumulated interest for the period will be paid after the expiry of the deferment period. The moratorium on term loans and the deferring of interest payments on working capital will not result in asset classification downgrade. The next announcement relates to easing of working capital financing. In respect of working capital facilities sanctioned in the form of cash credit, overdraft, lending institutions are allowed to recalculate drawing power by reducing margins and or by reassessing the working capital cycle for the borrowers. Such changes, I repeat, such changes will not result in asset classification downgrade. The moratorium on term loans, the deferring of interest payments on working capital and the easing of working capital financing, which I just announced, will not qualify as a default for the purpose of supervisory reporting and reporting to credit information companies by the lending institutions. Hence, there will be no adverse impact on the credit history of the beneficiaries. The next announcement relates to deferment of implementation of Net Stable Funding Ratio, NSFR. The Net Stable Funding Ratio, which reduces funding risk by requiring the banks to fund their activities with sufficiently stable sources of funding over a time horizon of 1 year in order to mitigate the risk of future funding stress, was required to be introduced by the banks in India from 1st April 2020. It has now been decided to defer the implementation of NSFR by 6 months to 1st October 2020. Deferment of last tranche of capital conservation buffer, that is the next announcement. The capital conservation buffer CCB is designed to ensure that banks build up capital buffers during normal times, that is outside periods of stress, which can be drawn down as losses are incurred during a stress period. Considering the potential stress on account of COVID-19, it has been decided to further defer the implementation of the last tranche of 0.625% of CCB from March 31st, 2020 to September 30th, 2020. With regard to financial markets, that is the third part of the announcement, we are announcing one measure, and this measure basically assumes importance in the context of the increased volatility of the Indian rupee caused by the impact of COVID-19 on currency markets.